sits there behind the safety car. You'll notice for the rolling start, the pole position is on the inside of the circuit, whereas for the standing starts, it's on the outside of the circuit. Here at Silverstone, those are the what's laid down in the track licence. Yates leading by 3.36 seconds at the end of lap 2, then 0.6 of a second back in third place behind Guy Povey's Mark Burton, then Rob Carvell fourth, but I think it was Anthony Seddon that was challenging him, wasn't he, for fourth position when we last look, and it's the 59 car that's still ahead, so Rob Carvell, I should say, still ahead in fourth position at the moment.
Yeah, he was ahead, you're right, Ian, but I think he ran wide on the exit of Luffield corner, so that then let the number 59 car through up towards the line. So Rob Carvell now under attack from that number 5 car again. So can Anthony Seddon go through? Yes, he can. Pretty easy on that occasion. And now he's going to try and close the gap down on those 2 cars ahead, but it gets very close. A little bit of contact there from number 59, and in turn also a little bit of contact there from number 34 on the back of 59. So Simon Walker-Hansel now draws alongside that car, and that will draw him up into what's going to be 5th position by the looks of it. So already some really close racing from second on backwards.
Yeah, which is what we thought we were going to get, really, because we could see in qualifying Sam Carrington-Yates quite a bit quicker than everybody else, but then everyone else much of a muchness in terms of their lap times, and certainly that's what's proving to be the case in the early stages of this GAZ 116 trophy race. There's Mark Burton, very nicely turned out car, newly prepared for this season. Then you've got the number 5 car next up, and Simon Walker-Hansel, 34, the Eco Trailers man, has made up a position, up into 5th position he has gone at the expense of Rob Carvell. Making their way down straight comes Guy Povey, number 93, very experienced tin top racer. Mark Burton, though, the low-cost champion from a few years ago, goes up the inside and takes second place away from him there in the Conan Motorsport prepared car. So Mark Burton, first time out racing in the 116 trophy, goes through to second place. That was a nice move, Matt.
Yep, nicely done there for the number 26 car. So now can Mark Burton do anything about the race leader, Sam Carrington-Yates, because that gap has already grown to 4 seconds. There's already a little bit of lappery to be done as well. So with the pace of the race leader and those further back, it's only taken a few laps for them to catch up, and of course with the slightly elongated start as well, I think a few cars were further back than they would have planned to be. So we're already into the traffic for the race leaders, but for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th it's very close at the minute as they work their way down towards Maggots. And let's see if anything has changed. Yes, it has, because while I was talking there, not paying attention, number 93 Guy Povey has now gone back up into 2nd place.
So a good start. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 cars in the group. 1 or 2 may have been exceeding track limits there in the background, and of course in a 90-minute race there's so many more laps, and so therefore so many more chances of exceeding track limits and so many more chances of picking up a penalty. So the first time you do it, it'll be noted. The second time you'll get a black and white driving standards flag to warn you not to do it again, and then the penalties start racking up every time you do it after that. 5 seconds, then another 10, then another 30. Beyond that, forget it, really. I mean, you're not going to be in the race for much longer, I'm afraid. So do keep an eye out on keeping to the track limits, not putting any wheels at all over the white lines or the curbs. So as they head down the national pit straight once again, here's the 2nd place car. That's number 93 Guy Povey. Number 5, which is Anthony Seddon, trying to get up the inside of Mark Burton there as these 3 cars dispute for 2nd position. But Burton, for the moment, able to hang on to that place.
Yep, certainly is. He's in the middle of the sandwich at the minute, isn't he? He's kind of trying to attack and defend at the same time, although he has lost a little bit of ground to Guy Povey. But watch out now, because by the looks of things, Simon Walker-Hansel has also closed in on those 3 cars ahead of him. And to be fair, the 2 behind, the 2 solo drivers who are in for a long afternoon doing this 90-minute race on their own, are almost there as well. So Louis Woodward and Rob Carvell, they run in 6th and 7th places. So let's see what they can do over the first half of this stint. As a little dive there, try to get through is Anthony Seddon, but Mark Burton is well aware of what he can do and how he needs to defend. So Mark Burton stays in 3rd as they head through Luffield.
So a car out the window going slowly up the national pit straight in towards Cop. So whether we pick that up in a minute, but it looked like there might be someone possibly preparing for retirement at some point. There's the treble 7 car, though, of the race leader, Sam Carrington-Yates. and he won 2 of the races last year. He's raced in the Compact Cup before. I think he raced in the M3 Cup as well. Formula Ford 1600. He's been a regular here at Silverstone on this circuit in the Walter Hayes Trophy in the past as well. As we watch Simon Walker-Hansel there try and put a move on, I think that's the second car, isn't it? Number 5. So as they head towards Maggots this time, they're absolutely alongside one another. Simon Walker-Hansel on the outside line. He runs a little bit wide, and that leaves the door open on the inside for number 87, Louis Woodward, in the all-white car. That does indeed go through. And another car joining in as well now looks to be that Lewis Tyndall at the back of the group as well.
It's almost like we're gaining 1 a lap, isn't it, onto this gaggle of cars, because it started as 3 and then eventually we've got to 6. We're almost at 7 with, as you said, Lewis Tyndall just a couple of seconds back. But for now, trying to make a move is the 87 machine of Louis Woodward. He's going to be on the outside run in towards Luffield, which will then leave the door wide open for Rob Carvell to try and get through. Can Rob do anything? He's going to get 2 possibly, because out wide goes number 34, which is Simon Walker-Hansel, and it makes it 3 wide up towards the line. They will fan out into 2 wide, but it was definitely Simon Walker-Hansel there who lost out after running wide. We've seen a couple of times today a few cars doing that in different races, but I think Simon Walker-Hansel is the first in this race to do so, and he now drops back into 7th position.
So we are coming up to the point at which the pit lane window opens. There's one there going into retirement. There's one coming into the pit lane. Now that won't be for a mandatory stop because it's a little bit too early. That's the 80 car, Chris Bayliss at the wheel of that at the moment. It doesn't look like there's any damage on that car, nor does it look like there's any damage on that car either, which is the number 99 of Simon Killam, but that one has pulled off on the grass at the side of the circuit. At least the 80 car has made it back to the pits and therefore might be able to get back out into the race again, but it looked like that was experiencing a mechanical issue as Mark Burton loses another place there. He loses out to Anthony Seddon, number 5, who goes through on the inside of Brooklyn. So Mark Burton now down to 4th position as they turn their way through Luffield Corner and up towards the end of the 8th lap of the race. Sam Carrington has already been through and continues to lead. 34 Simon Walker-Hansel and 87 Louis Woodward going side by side. Round the outside as well goes Rob Carvell, and it's looking very tasty indeed. 3 of them side by side down the national pit straight, and it is the 87 car of Woodward that keeps his nose in front as he turns through Cops Corner. So the experienced Simon Walker-Hansel there losing out.
It was one of those moments you wanted to close your eyes because that got very close for comfort for those 3 drivers, but in the end somehow number 87 Louis Woodward came out ahead, albeit he put 2 wheels into the slight ditch on the outside of Luffield and kicked up the gravel, so I didn't think that was going to be the case, but he has come out ahead of both number 59 Rob Carvell and also Simon Walker-Hansel. So things have changed between those 3 cars, and as you can see as well, with all this battling and running wide, it has now dropped them off the tail of the fight for second place. So they're going to have to work hard now to try and get back with those 4 cars ahead. 3 of those, of course, together. The other one being Sam Carrington Yates out front on his own by a good 8 seconds. And now, as Ian mentioned, we've got Lewis Tyndall who's joined in. So with that 2-second gap he was behind, he's now alongside number 59 Rob Carvell, and potentially Lewis Tyndall will move himself into 7th if he's got the grunt in that BMW.
Yeah, they're not overpowered, these 1.6 litre Mark 1 Series BMWs. They lap in around about 1 minute 15, the quickest, most of them lapping in the 1:16 to 1:17 second bracket, so not super quick, but nevertheless they do provide some excellent racing, very evenly matched racing indeed. Just saw Mark Burton going through shots there, so there is a gap now from Burton back to this next group of cars, which is Woodward, Walker-Hansel, Tyndall and Carvell. And Woodward, he'd done so well, but he's spun it away. He's found the dirt on the inside of Beckett's, so he'll be able to spin the car around and resume. He's got to find a gap in the traffic though. He's found one, but he's lost probably 7 or 8 places, I would think.
What a shame for Louis, who was doing so well, wasn't he? And I think he just took too tight a line through in towards Beckett's there, so the car just lost control, and with that he's lost a little bit of time. Not too many places, to be fair, but he's lost time to those he was fighting with inside the top 6 places, but I'm sure throughout this race, being 90 minutes, he'll be able to catch up some of that time as the pit stops very shortly start to unfold. Now we look towards this battle, which is the number 1 car and also the number 12. So 12 is solo of Andrew Woodbine, and the number 1 car is the one he's trying to chase, and that's going to be the car driven for this first stint by Jeremy Woodgate. So this is a little bit further back, just outside the top 10, and just looking there, I thought that was Rob Carvell, but no, he's up the road. That's a similarly liveried car to Rob Carvell coming across the line. But again, good battles throughout this field as we head towards the first 15 minutes to be completed.
Yeah, looking at my screen, I think the 80 car, which we saw come into the pits, has gone back out again, so that's good. Let's head down to the pit lane. News from Anthony Jordan.
Talking about the number 80, that is back out on circuit. I have got an update about that. Chris Bayliss at the wheel of the car at the moment. The team put out the P17 to let them know they were in position 17. He thought it said pits, so he came in to a very unhappy team that sent him straight back out again. So yeah, a bit of confusion when the teams out here.
I hadn't realised that there was such peril in being in 17th position in the race, but you can see how that mistake happens, can't you, Matt?
Yeah, you have number plates like that sometimes, don't you? So yeah, it makes sense P17 to mean pit. So you do have to, as a mechanic, sometimes make numbers to be letters. So
yeah. Sadly, they probably hadn't sort of covered that eventuality in their pre-race briefing, had they? But nevertheless, he's gone straight back out again. No problem with the car, but it probably did cost them probably half a minute or so, I think, at least. You know, I can imagine the conversation. What are you doing here? You said pit. No, I didn't. Anyway, 11 laps gone for the race. Sam Carrington Yates leads by about 10 seconds.
He does. This is the fight we're concentrating on at the minute. This is the one with Lewis Tyndall, Rob Carvell and Simon Walker-Hansel. A little bit of debris there just being kicked up from the apex of the corner, and a little bit more there through as well. So that could indicate that there's been some contact between a couple of cars, but they make their way through unharmed. But yeah, Rob Carvell, Lewis Tyndall and Simon Walker-Hansel fighting over 5th place. They've worked their way off the Wellington Straight once more, and they're on the way now to the completion of another lap. But just thinking in this race, is it better sometimes to be a solo driver, because you can kind of plan your race as it goes, can't you? Because if there's a safety car or you feel like you want to come in, you can just get in at that time. You don't have to hand over to another driver, whereas if you're a 2 or 3 car team, it sometimes means you have to kind of give each driver theoretically the same amount of time in the car.
Yeah, and if you might think, I've had my 45 minutes now, it's time for my teammate. I'll try and keep it as even as possible. Some will go for a different strategy, of course, in keeping the quicker driver in for as long as possible. But if you're doing it solo, then you can plan the race to suit you. You can take advantage of the safety car if there is one. And drivers can now start to make their stops, because the pit open, or the P17 open board, is being shown from the finish line there. It'll be shown for the next couple of laps as well, to let drivers know that they can start to call in. The 99 car, which is the one that we saw stricken, is now making its way down the pit lane as well. So that's the Simon Killam car, so at least it has got back to the pits under its own steam, and it can now make advantage of this as a mandatory stop if it's able to get back out there again.
Just saw the number 2 car, which is Chris Noakes. He was running in 17th place, but he's fallen a little bit further down on that lap, so he's lost some positions. There's number 22 as well going through, so pushing on as hard as he possibly can at the minute in that car is one of those who suffered some dramas this morning in qualifying, but that's Richard Rondell, so he is continuing on. And a little bit of conversation here between the driver and the mechanics, of course. This is the number 99 car we saw, which was stopped momentarily out on circuit, so he's made it back, and now the team are going to look over that car to see if they can fix what problems it may have had.
Yeah, group of cars heading down the Wellington Straight towards us, merging towards Brooklands. It's the 11 car of Richard Lakey we can see at the front of that group, and he's now ahead of the treble 8 car, subtitles for Sean Gosling, and 44 is behind him, so that's Richard Phillips. So and then behind them is number 2, Chris Noakes. So good little scrap going on between those quartet. Actually, it seemed to become 5 or 6 cars, didn't it? Because there's a couple of them closing in as well by the looks of it. So those two run side by side through Woodcote Corner. Quite a few of the drivers will have the black cross on the yellow background. That's the novice cross, as we call it, which drivers have to have on their car for their first few races. until they've got enough signatures on their licence to satisfy the officials that they can remove the cross, and they don't need to display that anymore as a, I suppose, just a bit of awareness for other drivers. There's a less experienced driver on circuit. There is 232. Looks like it's just recovering from a spin. That's Ian Dockrell.
Yep, so on his way once again goes Ian, and just behind that we would have seen the race leader about to make his way through to nearly lap that other gaggle of cars we were watching as well, down towards the fringes of the top 20. So getting the move on now is Sam Carrington-Yates. At that time through, he led by just under 12 seconds from the number 93 car, so Guy Povey still there or thereabouts, and there's still only a couple of seconds between him and the next car of Anthony Seddon, and Mark Burton again is also not too far adrift, so that's what's happening off screen for second, third and fourth. But this is a battle we're picking up on, and a little bit of damage there I think as well to the, I think that was the number 44 machine, so that's been in the wars with someone, but it's still in the race, which is the main thing.
Seen the black and white driving standard flag go out to car 43. That's David Weinberg at the moment. It's number 11 heads into the pit lane, which is Richard Lakey for the first of his mandatory stops. He is driving the race solo, so no one to hand over to. Meanwhile, past my window goes treble 7 Sam Carrington-Yates, about to come into your view. Let's head down once again to Anthony in the pit lane.
Thank you again, Ian. Yes, the 99 you were saying who had stopped out on circuit, I spoke to the team, one of the engineers just relaying the information that they had electrical issues out on circuit. The driver, Simon Kilman, at the wheel of the car was saying everything in the car was flickering, so we had to stop, pull over, turn everything off, turn everything back on again, and then they brought it back into the pit lane to have a quick look at the car. But it seems to be all working, and they've headed back out.
Thanks, Anthony. Good to know that car's back out on circuit. Let's hope there's no more flickering going on in the remaining 70 minutes or so of this race. So Sam Carrington-Yates leads the way by 11.1 seconds at the moment, from Guy Povey in second, number 93. Third is number 5, Anthony Seddon. Fourth, 26, Mark Burton. Fifth, 34, Simon Walk-Hansel. And sixth, 59, Rob Carvell. That's the way of things at the moment, with 15 laps of this race gone, about 20 minutes of the race gone as well. Another car heading into the pit lane is number 2, and there you can see the damage on the 11 car, so that was one to head into the pit lane relatively early. As Chris Noakes now heads down the pit lane as well. Some work for the team to do on that, just to clear the bodywork from fouling the tyre, I guess, Matt.
Yeah, by the looks of it, they might have some gaffer tape ready to go onto that car as well, but that's the car I picked up on. Wrong number, I said 44, but it in fact was the number 11 with the damage to the left front. But of course that shouldn't affect them too much. It will allow the air to pass through a little bit quicker, but it might also keep the tyres quite cool as well, especially on that left front. So we'll see how that gets on once it's served this 90-second pit stop down there.
Sorry to interrupt, there's a black flag now being shown, but I think it is to the car number 11, which is in the pits. 87 is in the gravel, I'm afraid. And that is the Louis Woodward car. So he had that moment earlier on, he was recovering, and now he's gone off rather more comprehensively. Not sure he's going to get out of that unaided. But yeah, that black flag I think is to car number 11. I wish I brought my binoculars now. To the car that's already in the pit lane, and it's for a pit stop penalty. So I wonder if that's connected with the damage to the front of the car as well.
Yeah, it could well be linked 2 and 2 together, and that could be the answer to maybe some contact with another car. But yeah, Louis Woodward off at the same place he kind of spun 3 or 4 laps ago, but this time he's well and truly stuck in the gravel. So with that being a rear-wheel drive car, these BMWs, it does mean that he's not going to get out there without too much help, is he, from the marshals? So he'll need a little bit of a push if they can get to it, but there will be yellow flags down there for the time being, which is a real shame for Louis. As we saw earlier on, he was running inside the top 8, and now he's stuck in that gravel, and I don't think that's going to go anywhere anytime soon. So we could see the arrival of a safety car before too much longer, because we did mention about this, and for those solo drivers and possibly those who haven't made a stop just yet, this might be the perfect opportunity to dive into the pit lane if we do get one. Yeah,
there's only been 3 or 4 drivers that have headed into the pit lane so far. One just heading down pit road now looks to be the 41 car as well, which is Daniel Reed. Now that is one of the cars that's got 3 drivers as well, so it looks like they're going to make a relatively early change. As we see Mark Burton going through, and that is a slower car ahead of him at the moment. I think the Horgan car possibly at the moment. There's Guy Povey, the man in second place, number 93, and then Anthony Seddon is the next car through. Then it's the back marker, I think it is the 46 car, then Mark Burton passing that back marker, as too is Simon Walker-Hansel, number 34. So what you're seeing there is the battle for fourth position as car 44 now heads into the pits. That's Richard Phillips.
Looks like the traffic has worked pretty well for Guy Povey in second place, because he's now pulled a good 3 seconds away from this battle which we're looking at on screen. So that's number 5, which has just gone through, of Anthony Seddon. Then Mark Burton still under attack at the minute from Simon Walker-Hansel. So yeah, the traffic hasn't worked too well for these cars, but for the top two it's working okay at the minute. But the gap between first and second has now just gone up slightly, 12.2 seconds. And if you look at the left-hand side of your screen, you can see the timing tower, and with that timing tower you can currently see the last lap times from the drivers, which is a good indication of who's going quicker than who and how those gaps are separating or coming down as well.
Yeah, the number 11 car has now come in for its pit stop penalty. So it had gone back out, having made it stop, had some bodywork repaired, and now it's going for a pit stop penalty. It'll be a stop and go with a period of time where they need to be stationary, which will depend on the exact reason that they've picked up the penalty. Also into the pits now comes the 99 car again, so that is the one that was flickering, wasn't it? So that's Simon Killen back in again for a second time. Now I wonder if they'll make this their second mandatory stop and then just do one more stint at the end, assuming that they're not going to have to retire the car.
Yeah, so the issues on that number 99 machine obviously not fixed. A little bit of a moment there for, is that number 12 by the looks of things, or 22?
22 it looked like, didn't it? Which is Richard Roundell, who was one of those to start from the pit lane and was running in 16th position before that. Well, there's the white car of Lee Woodward that's still beached. It's been there a few laps now, hasn't it? As into the pits comes number 12, which is the Andrew Woodbine car, I can see. So he's making his stop. He was in 11th position.
And also number 42 dives into the pit lane as well there. So pit stop for, by the looks of it, the Antonio Almeida Souza car. So that's going to be handed over to either Liam Brezitz or Jim Allen. So that's one of the teams in this race with 3 drivers, but for now this is the fight we concentrate on for third place. So still early in the race, but this could potentially be for the final step on the podium, and we have currently I think 4 cars, yeah, all of those cars are fighting for third place. So it's headed by number 5, which is Anthony Seddon. Mark Burton is next up on his own in car number 26, that's the red and black machine, and then 34 Simon Walker-Hansel is just ahead by cigarette paper of number 59, which is Rob Carvel. So good fighting. We're almost half an hour in and these 4 are still tied together. Yeah, so great scrap going on between them. It's almost like it is a 15-minute race, apart from the fact we've already had 25 minutes of it, rather than a 90-minute endurance encounter for this GAZ Shocks 116 trophy. There's Mark Burton then. There is Rob Carvel. Rob, of course, well known for racing in VWs and the VW Racing Cup that supported the British F3 and British GT Championship for many years. But he and brother Ian have appeared more recently in the 116 trophy over the past couple of seasons. And very strong competitors. Off the circuit has gone that the 46 car, isn't it? Yeah, that's the 46 car. So that's the car that was started by Ben Horgan that's now out of the race by the looks of it, as treble 8 comes into the pits, and so too does 417. So that's Stephen Cunniff. Yep, these 4 cars remain out fighting for third place, and that time round Anthony Seddon has just pulled a little bit of a march over the car behind, which is Mark Burton, who's almost pulled a little bit of a gap as well over the likes of Simon Walker-Hansel and Rob Carvel, but they're still fighting hard as they head their way in towards Copse Corner once again. And here are the pit stops unfolding in the pit lane. So I think that's the first of our driver changes we've seen on screen. So all working well at the minute. Tyre pressures to be checked as always in a pit stop, make sure everything's okay. And nice to see the driver that possibly has just got out that car, number 43, is now helping his teammate to get strapped in. So David Wienberg now handing over to Eduardo Friedian.
Yeah, some good teamwork going on there. Of course, the stop's 90 seconds rather than 60 seconds, which they otherwise would have been. That's to allow for extra sanitisation of the car. Got a black and white driving standards flag going out to car 40, which is Andrew Long. Another of the drivers to start from the pit lane. 3 of them were excluded from qualifying for their cars being underweight, so they had to start from the back effectively. As the 22 car goes through into the pits, that's the Richard Roundell car that we saw in trouble a little bit earlier on, and so too does number 12 Andrew Woodbine in again. Now that's either 2 stops in quick succession to get rid of his mandatory stops, or there's a problem with that car, or I was going to say he's stopping for a penalty because he was stopping close to the penalty area in the pit lane, but he's actually moved on from that. Let's look at 42 then for the moment. That is the car that is in 25th position at the moment. That's one with 3 drivers. It was Antonio Almeida Sousa that started it, and as Matt said, it's either Liam Presitz or Jim Allen that are taking over. We've got the snatch vehicle now on circuit at Brooklands to finally, hopefully, recover the number 87 car of Louis Woodward.
Yep, so that's going to be done possibly under double wave yellows down there. So Louis Woodward, unfortunately, out of this race, so he'll take no further part after dropping a few laps down in this race. And another pit stop unfolding here as well for the number 40 car. So let's see how they got on as well. As we said, 90 seconds to be stationary, and this time round Andrew Long is the one who's jumped out, and again that's another 3-car team, so it's either the Jonathan Webster or Adam Aegis who's going to jump in, but this fight for 3rd place still continues on, so it's up and down like a yo-yo at the minute, but I don't think these 4 have been separated by more than a couple of seconds so far within this race, and it's still Anthony Seddon who's on screen in 3rd, Mark Burton behind in 4th, Simon Walker-Hansel and Rob Carvell for 5th and 6th places. But before too much longer, you'd think that some of these are going to dive in for their first pit stop, but not at the minute. They're enjoying the racing far too much.
Absolutely right. So we're coming up to the hour mark. Let's give you a quick rundown on the order. Of course, we waved yellow flags that part of the circuit. So no overtaking. It's 777 that leads. That's Sam Carrington-Yates. He's got 23 laps in the book. Second is number 93. That's Guy Povey, 11.84 seconds behind. Third, number 5, Anthony Seddon, 17.77 seconds behind. And fourth, 26, Mark Burton. Fifth, number 34, Simon Walker-Hansel. Sixth, number 59, Rob Carvell. Seventh, number 75, Lewis Tyndall. Eighth, the 77 car, which was started by Tim Crichton. Ninth, number 1, that was Jeremy Woodgate, and rounding out the top 10 is the car of the Goddens, Jack and Christopher.
No real change that time through, because Mark Burton did try for a move down the inside line of Anthony Seddon, but then Anthony had the better line through the corner to hold on to that 3rd place, so they all head their way across the line. It's interesting just to look a little bit further down at the minute, because Andrew Woodbine, who shared with Sam Carrington-Yates last year, they both took a couple of wins, one at Snetterton and one at Oulton, but Andrew Woodbine has decided to go solo for possibly this year or just this meeting, but Andrew currently down on his own in 24th place, so he's finding it a little bit harder this year, but still learning, and he's a couple of laps down as well, but he may have been in for his first pit stop. That could be the reason he's a few laps down compared to the leaders, but
yeah,
by the looks of things there.
He's actually been in a couple of times, Woodbine, so
okay.
he possibly has made both of his stops already, which you can do. You can get one out of the way straight after the other, if you so choose, and then just carry on with your race. But we know that often it's beneficial to be able to take your stop under a safety car, so it's perhaps worth keeping one up your sleeve just in case there is one. But we've seen already a situation which in some circumstances might have called for a safety car, the recovery of Louis Woodward's car, and it didn't yield one, so you imagine that it's got to be a fairly significant piece of clearing up that needs to be done that will to cause a safety car, so maybe best not to bank on there being one as part of your strategy.
And to be fair, actually, looking at Andrew Woodbine's best lap time, it's a 1:16.6, so that puts him somewhere within inside the top 10. So yeah, he could be one to watch out for in the latter stages of this one.
Best lap of the race is to Sam Carrington-Yates, which is unsurprisingly 1:15.49, but that is nearly 2.5 seconds slower than he went in qualifying, a 1:13.12, which is interesting. Most of the rest of the drivers are lapping in the 16s and 17s rather than the 15s and 16s they were lapping in this morning. Now, a stop and go penalty is being shown to 41, which is Daniel Reed, who has handed over already to one of his teammates as a Miras Closas or Julian Kingston-Smith. I wonder if that is because their pit stop contravened the rules in some way. So it could have been due to excess speed in the pit lane, it could have been for overtaking under a yellow flag or a safety car, which we've not had, so it can't be that. I suspect it's speed in the pit lane that was the issue there, and that car's going to have to come into the pits. For the first of the leading contenders is now in for their mandatory stop. That's Anthony Seddon. Now we'll perhaps see if we can keep an eye on him to see if he hands over to Alan Caulfield this time or not, and if Anthony's going to stay aboard for this middle part of the race.
Just looking at the lap prior to the one we just completed, 5 cars inside the top 10 did their best lap of the race. So the track temperature or the tyres now coming up to where they should be, but at least 3 of those were inside the top 5. So some really good laps being set there from the Povies, Mark Burton, and also the Anthony Seddon car, which is now into the pit lane. So they were a little bit quicker than the race leader as well. So the gaps are starting to fluctuate, and interestingly for those behind Sam Carrington-Yates, are starting to come down as well. But there's a pit stop at number 5.
Yeah, it didn't look like there was a driver change going on there, did it? So that would suggest that Anthony Seddon's still aboard, is it? Isn't it, I think? We'll see about that as we watch Mark Burton and Simon Walker-Hansels. They're in 3rd and 4th position. Car 87. Oh, that's the Louis Woodward car, isn't it? Which has got released from the gravel trap, now heading down the pit lane to get gravel out of it, I suspect. Andrew Woodbine now in for the 3rd time in car number 12, which rather suggests it's not some weird pit stop strategy, but a problem with the car that Andrew has. Drive from Northwich up there in Cheshire. So 3rd stop for him by my reckoning, and that's the signs of something broken on the car, maybe. 5 minutes, less than an hour to go in this race. 90-minute race for the GAZ Shocks 116 trophy. All parts of Silverstone being explored by Mark Burton and Simon Walker-Hansel there as they make their way along the Wellington Straight. Towards Brooklands they go, car 26, Mark Burton, low-cost champion. There's the Woodbine car. It's still got Sam Carrington-Yates' name on it as well, but we do understand it is just Andrew racing the car this year. Team just counting him down before he's released. So this looks like this is one of the 90-second stops, therefore, if they're counting him down. Coming in behind him is car 96, which is Chris Kershaw, one of the solo drivers for the first of his mandatory stops. Looking down the Wellington Straight with 54 minutes of the race left to go, you can see sort of towards the middle of the pack there is Treble 7, the race leader Sam Carrington-Yates, well and truly stuck into the traffic now, almost trying to pick off 2 cars at the same time. It's the 44 car that he's lapping, which is Richard Phillips, or trying to lap at the moment. I'm just seeing if our blue flag's being waved to aid his passage. I'm not actually sure that he is getting the benefit of those at the minute. Relatively hard for the marshals to blue flag in races like this, or basically a long endurance one-make race, because there's not obvious signs of a much quicker car coming through. You can't tell just by looking that a car is much quicker. The marshals will need to be au fait with the track positions, the lap charts, the colour of the quicker cars and the slower cars indeed, to wave the blue flags at the right time. So it is a difficult part of blue flagging, especially in a 90-minute one-make race.
And of course with pit stops as well, sometimes the leaders that were are then not, so you kind of try to follow the race, but then that could change halfway through when they come in for that pit stop. But Marshall's doing a tremendous job. Sometimes they rely on listening to circuit commentary, but that may not be the case here this weekend. I think we are going out, but they're more interested in the race than us.
Yeah. I'm trying to see what's being shown from the finish line now. There is another driver getting the stop and go penalty. I think that's the treble 8 car, Sean Gosling. So I think he's going to get a stop and go penalty as well now. So there's 2 numbers hanging from that board. Danger is the marshals will run out of 8 with so many cars having 3 digits in this race. Another driver into the pit lane as well. You can just see it in the background of shot there, as we're watching the 417 car go through. The car that's down the pit lane is the 41 car, so that is the one that is heading in for its pit stop penalty. Therefore, the stop and go penalty for, we think, speeding in the pit lane, possibly.
Yep, so time ticking away. We're almost at 40 minutes, so pretty much at half race distance in this one, and it is still Sam Carrington-Yates that leads the way. And to be fair, his gap out front hasn't really changed too much, has it? I think it's been around about 12. It's now up to just over 15 seconds, but this is of course all being aided by the traffic that the front runners are having to lead with. But he's out front. Guy Povey's there in second, and Mark Burton sits there at the minute in third place.
Let's head down to the pit lane. Anthony has another update for us.
Yes, thank you, Ian. It's been quite busy down here in the pit lane. We've had obviously the first run of stops that we've had. Now, a few black flags that we've seen as well, a bit of drama. The number 12 you were talking about kept coming into the pit lane. Now, the 12 came in because they thought they had received a black flag, and they hadn't. It was going to the 41. They were receiving a 30-second time penalty, but they've not come in yet, which I think they have now. So a bit of miscommunication on that one. The 19 that's out in circuit as well, they had a brief pit stop, but they had an engine fault light come on in the car, so the team had to quickly check that one and then send it back out all well still. The 58 as well, that's got Ian Carville behind the wheel. That also came up with an engine fault light, which they managed to fix within their pit window, so that didn't really lose any time. They just wanted to check it over and send it back out. As well, the 41 BMW, they did a driver swap, and they also had a puncture at the same time, so they did a complete wheel change and a driver swap in that time as well. So there's a lot of pit activity within that team. And of course, we were saying about the number 11 who had their 30-second time penalty a lot earlier on. That was for a possible yellow flag infringement out on circuit. That is why they received their black flag earlier on today. But other than that, we can see the 417 just having a talking to now. That's all I've got for you at the moment. I'll try and see if I can find someone for an interview in a bit moment.
Okay, look forward to that, Anthony. Thank you very much indeed. Lots, as you say, going on down in the pit lane, and in some ways what goes on in the pit lane even more important than what happens out on circuit in these endurance type races. Watching Mark Burton, number 28, make his way past the back marking number 42 car, which is driven by either Liam Vazitz or Jim Allen at the moment. That car is down in 25th position. Mark Burton is in third place, and he's heading his way down the National Straight. Coming towards us there is number 19. That's the car being driven by either David Pickup or Richard Wadlow-Smith now. Richard started the car, but it could be that David has taken it over. There's number 75, which is the fifth place car, Lewis Tyndall. The number 99 car, just going past my control box window, is going slowly again, so I think his electrical gremlins may have returned, I'm afraid. So that we can't Patrick Scharfiger, former Caterham racer, and Simon Killam. And you can see the car just pulling off onto the left-hand side of the circuit there. He's going to get up against the barrier, or possibly even find a gap in the barrier. There we are, Marshall's pointing him to it, and out of the race he goes.
Ever since we lost, not lost, or had into the pit lane Rob Carvell and Anthony Seddon, we've had our battle for third place break up. So Mark Burton now is second or so up the road from Simon Walker-Hansel, so he's now trying to negotiate the traffic as we can see as best as possible. That's the green and black car just going through of Simon Walker-Hansel, and also Lewis Tyndall, who we saw kind of right towards the beginning of the race come onto the tail of those 5 or so cars. Lewis has lost around about 12 seconds to those ahead of him, so I'm not too sure if he's had a little bit of traffic which has not worked that well for him, but Lewis comes past our commentary box now across the line, but as I said, he'll find himself a further 12 seconds or so back from now Simon Walker-Hansel, so he's got a little bit of catching up to do later on in this race.
We were talking about blue flagging earlier on, and Tom on the YouTube comments points out that race control will often give the marshals the numbers of the leading cars, so they have the chance of blue flagging it. Of course, the other thing, of course, that's available these days that didn't used to be available is live timing, and it might be that they have access to the live timing at the marshals post as well via a screen to enable them to check their positions and work out who is a leading contender and therefore worthy of a blue flag. But it does get more and more difficult in any case during the as the race goes on, and different strategies are at play. So coming up to the halfway point in this race, we'll give you a sort of halfway update on the positions in a minute. We've got 5 or 6 cars there all together, looking for all the world as if they are having a 15-minute sprint. It's the 40 car that's been into the pits already, hasn't it? Andrew Long started that car, but it'll be either Jonathan Webster or Adam Aegis at the wheel at the moment. One of the cars I can see indicating off to the right, 75 as well, I can see from my window. Lewis Tyndall from 6th position, heading into the pit lane for the first of his 2 mandatory stops. Remember, they have to be made before 15 minutes to go. Off into the gravel has gone number 41. So that's the car being driven by either Asa Murias Closas or Julian Kingston Smith at the moment. The marshals, I think, we'll get that one out without too much difficulty. And the driver will be able to go back on his way again. One of the 40-40 racing entries, quite a few of those on the grid this weekend.
That's a good thing about Silverstone. There's plenty of runoff, so normally you're away from where you should be. There's a car off in the gravel we can see from our commentary box, which I think was dropping some fluid and smoking, and there it is on our screen now. So that's number 96, which is Chris Kershaw, and I thought there may have just been a slight fire at the back of the car as well, but he's dove into the gravel trap just to get himself out of harm's way, and again that's going to be covered by a yellow flag, but that's not good news for number 96. It means I think Chris Kershaw now will definitely be out of the race.
Let's have a bit of a rundown on the orders. We're about halfway through this race now. So at treble 7 that's leading, Sam Carrington-Yates, 35 laps under his belt. Second, number 93, Guy Povey, 18.3 seconds behind. Third, number 26, Mark Burton. Fourth, number 34, Simon Walker-Hansel. Fifth, number 75, Lewis Tyndall, although he's now in the pits. Sixth, number 1, Jeremy Woodgate. Seventh, 71, the Goddens. Eighth, number 5, which we think is still Anthony Seddon. Ninth, number 15, Rob Carvel, who is, no, it's brother Ian that's heading down the pit lane at the moment. 10th, number 80, which is the Millward and Bayliss car. But yeah, 58, Ian Carvel back in for a second time, and it did have issues. I think an electrical issue, Anthony was explaining a few moments ago as well. And car 25 now heading into the pit lane as well. So that's the Ben Siebold, Max Palmer car.
There goes race leader 777 across the line once again. So Sam Carrington-Yates just had to redress there briefly as they came down into the yellow flag zone. So a very wise move to give the place back rather than receive a penalty. So Sam Carrington-Yates is slightly slower that time through, but Guy Povey, as we said, quite a few seconds back at the minute in second place. So he won't
indeed
be... Okay.
Sorry, Matt's just pulled into the pit lane as well.
Yes,
so Guy Povey making a stop.
So a few jumping possibly because there may be a safety car again. So some of them kind of predicting what may be coming. But I think the car that we saw off in the gravel at Luffield is going to be recovered by the JCB over there. So that will be done, as we said, under double wave yellow. So things carry on. And here is once again the race leader heading off the straight, yet to make a pit stop. So they're taking it very late into this race. But the team happy with what Sam Carrington-Yates is doing. And here's the man who leads this race as he continues to work his way through the traffic in this race.
Bit more difficult to make your way through the traffic, of course, just at the moment because he's going through that yellow flag zone. I think he gets a green on the exit of Luffield, so he can lap cars again as he comes across them. So well into the second half of this race now for the GAZ Shocks 116 trophy here on the Silverstone National Circuit race meeting organised by the 750 Motor Club. Let's head down to the pit lane again. Anthony, you've got an interview.
Thank you very much, Ian. Yes, we're here with the 71 car, Jack Godden. You've just come out of the car. You look quite hot and flustered. You were diving for a bottle of water a second ago. How's it going out there?
Really, really good. This is our first race here, so it was strange, completely new experience. Really good start, made up a few places, but then there was some fluid down at Beckett's, which caught me out in a couple of laps, ended up going wide, but other than that, it's been perfect so far, really good.
Excellent. Who's in the car now for you?
That's my dad, Chris. We're sharing the car together for the year.
Who's the faster driver?
Oh, me, that's for sure, yeah.
No, definitely so. I mean, we've got fantastic weather this weekend here at Silverstone. It's played well, and of course the first time that the 116 trophy is actually raced here at Silverstone as well. So, you know, for a first race for you, it's a fantastic experience, I'd say.
Yeah, it's been really, really good so far. Really enjoyed it.
I'd say you're 10th at the moment, are you?
Been ninth.
Ninth.
Now.
Oh, you're ninth now. So you moved up. So there you go. Are you sure you're the quicker driver because he's gone another place?
Well, that was me, so...
Fair enough. Well, excellent stuff. Great to chat to you, and best luck for the rest of the race.
Thank you.
Spot on. Excellent stuff here. Great family-friendly atmosphere down here in the pit lane for the 116 BMW Trophy. Back to you in the commentary box.
Thanks, Anthony. And there is Rob Carvell. He is off the circuit at Luffield Corner. Now, while we were hearing from Anthony, talking to young Jack Godden there, we had two cars coming together on the way into Brooklands, and I don't know if actually Rob Carvell may have been one of them. I didn't know if you spotted that out of the window as well, man, if you could see the numbers on the car, but there's only two cars got together and were sort of tangled up with one another just on the turn into Brooklands for a few moments. I'm not quite sure if Rob Carvell got himself involved in that or if that was something separate.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't see. I was watching the pictures we have, but Rob Carvell definitely, as you said, is now out. He's been pushed behind the barrier over there, so while there were yellow flags, he was, as Ian said, involved in something as well. But that's a real shame for Rob. He was running high up in the first part of this race, but he's no longer, unfortunately. We saw Rob on the podium last year at Stetterton in one of these 116 trophy races, and by the looks of things, the 99 machine has continuing gremlin problems with the electrics on that car, which is a real shame, but it's been in and out quite a few times now, so that's going to be no more. And there's Ian Carvell. So with almost the same sort of lap, we've had Rob Carvell out, and it looks like now Ian, on his way into the pit lane, has also had some problems, although he gains some momentum now and gets back onto the tarmac. But I think that's a question or a statement of the right place at the right time, because it's right at the end of the lap.
Yep, so two brothers having a few issues then during the course of this race, it would seem. That's disappointing for them. The treble 8 car, Sean Gosling's just come in now. Whether that's to serve his penalty, I'm not sure he stops in the penalty box if he has, or if it's for some other reason, not quite sure. But nevertheless, the treble 8 car into the pit lane again. And well, there you can see some quite heavy damage on the side of the car as well. So I'm just wondering if I don't think it was his car that was involved with Rob Carvell. But we can see from the camera, from the window, 93 is into the pit lane again, as also is the Povey car. So two stops in quick succession for that car. But some heavy damage on the treble 8 car of Sean Gosling, and he's out of the race with that damage by the looks of it.
That worried me there for a minute. I thought that was someone's actual car with no livery on it. But it wasn't. It was a race car.
Thank goodness for that. Yeah, well, it just goes to show, doesn't it, how sort of standard these cars are. I mean, a lot of them do have some very nice liveries on them, but yeah, so you can drive it to the circuit. You can just put the mandatory decals on the side of the car, and that's it. There's the 777 car with race leader Simon Walker-Hansel just going through, trying to make up some places around the outside at Beckett's. And he's still leading this race by a comfortable margin. Simon Walker-Hansel it is that's moved up into second place with the pit stops that have gone on. I still don't think we've seen a pit stop for Simon Carrington-Yates or Mark Burton or Rob Carvell, although we think he's retired now, or Simon Walker-Hansel. I think most of the rest of the leading contenders have all made one stop at least.
Yeah, that does look to be the case, doesn't it? Because if you look 5th on backwards, you've got the likes of now, I'm sure, Alex Povey into the car, taken over from Guy Povey, or it might be Guy going again, we're not too sure, but the Poveys have been in. You've got the Seddon and Caulfield car, which has now gone up into 5th place. We've got a spin there as well at Copse Corner, that's number 19, which rejoins safely, and that's the car of possibly now David Pickup, which has taken over from Richard Wadlow-Smith.
The treble 7 car, the leading car, is into the pit lane, so Sam Carrington-Yates, with 37 minutes of the race left to go, is headed into the pit lane. So I don't know if we can get the pit lane camera on that one, just to see what's going on with that stop, if it's going to be a line change or not. There is the car, just a bit further up the pit lane, and the second driver in that car is Mark Sullivan, or it's due to be Mark Sullivan, but we'll see if there's any change going on, or if Sam Carrington-Yates will be staying out for a little bit longer. I think that might well still be Sam in the car, actually, for the next part of the race. We've got 35, 36, 37 minutes left to go, something like that. Here's the two cars, 43 and 417, so that's the Eduardo Frediani car in 15th position, and the 417 car is a lap further back. That's the David Scotting car in 21st position at the moment. Down the straight those come towards us. As into the pits, I can see comes number 22, which is Richard Roundell for a second stop. So we are getting to the 2/3 mark of the race now, where drivers, if not already stopped twice, will be looking to make their second stop. We've also still got some that have yet to stop once, possibly hanging on for that safety car, but it may never come. Mancane tyres on these cars, you can hear them scrabbling for a little bit of grip there through maggots. The left-hander, Beckett's the right-hander that brings them onto the Wellington straight. Up the Wellington straight, you can see a blue flag there being shown by the marshals, as we've got pretty cars on several different laps here altogether. 116 trophy goes to Donington Park next month, and then Anglesey, Cadwell Park, Brands and Snetterton to complete the 2021 season. So nice range of circuits that the series goes to this year. I'm sure we'll have some great grids throughout the season. Just wondering if that 43 car's got one or two problems, just the body language of the car just seems to be dropping back, and there is one that's sounding a little bit rough. That may be the one, and it's certainly dropped back quite a long way now from the 417 car. It's also a lap of 125 for Frediani that time, compared to the car's best lap for 116.96, so possibly a problem for the 4040 car. Might see that one heading back into the pits for a second time before too much longer. As into the pit lane now comes car 41 again.
Yeah, the number 43 car sounded as if maybe it was struggling to get into a gear, but it's definitely a little bit slower than it should be, I think, as it heads now onto the Wellington straight, but plugs on nonetheless as we look and wait for Simon Walker-Hansel, I think, who also has come in, hasn't he, recently, because it's still shown on our timing screen as Sam Carrington-Yates as the race leader, so I think those two cars came in together along with Mark Burton, so top three I think have served now their first pit stop, and with the pit window closing in just under 20 minutes, they're going to have to do their second before too much longer as well.
Yeah, if they've done that, they've managed to do it without me noticing, which is very sneaky of them. I've been keeping a keen eye out, but I've missed them. 232 coming into the pits is Christopher Dockland, but and it looks like Wilkinson and Mark Burton have both been in to make their stops.
I've got an update on the 777, the race leader before they came in, just to
So we've got the 77 car down there in the pit lane. That's Tim Crichton that started that car. They'll be on to their third
yeah, do you want to do a mic check first?
Either Harry or Peter Ormerod. So there's the cars down in the pit lane. And I can see the treble 7 car, I think, is back in for its second stop in quick succession. So it looks like Sam Carrington-Yates and Mark Sullivan There it is,
Cool,
back
yeah,
in,
I'm
heading
ready.
into the pit lane. Let's head down to the pit lane, and Anthony is down there.
Yes, thank you very much, Ian. Yeah, as you can see, the 777 has come back in. It's going to be another quick driver swap. Now, I spoke to some of the teams, drivers in there, and they were saying that they're having problems with the differential. They wanted to change it out before the start of this race. Unfortunately, they ran out of time, so they've not been able to do that. But as you can see, they're managing it quite well, I'd say, as the 77 just leaving the pit lane now in front of me. Also, they're complaining about the tyres as well. They're not happy with them. They're a bit shot, I think, was the words that they were using. So, yes, they're not happy with the tyres that they've got on the car at the moment. So they're struggling with a couple of separate things. Now, when I went to approach them as well, James Stanley was talking to them and was a bit unhappy with the team as well. Because the last time they were in, they sent the car out in front of another car that was leaving the pit lane. So they've got a bit of telling off as well. So despite the fact that they're up front runners, they are struggling out there.
Thanks, Anthony. And just to confirm, they said the tyres were shot and not one valve different. The Dankling tyres are very good indeed. 32 minutes of the race left to go. So that car's been in for a second stop. We can see on track there the two cars that are second and third, but will actually assume first and second position. So that's the battle for the lead. Going across the line now, Simon Walker-Hansel, number 34, and Mark Burton, number 26. They're just heading into Copse Corner, and there's 35 100ths of a second between them as we move on to, in their case, the 45th lap of the race. But they've both got another stop to make, Matt Zuckling.
Yeah, that's not too bad, is it? After an hour of racing, separated by that very small margin. So Simon Walker-Hansel and Mark Burton are first and second at the minute. There's, just going through your shot there, the Louis Woodward car, which was off a little while ago, recovered back to the pits and still out there trying to get some laps in. But the number 5 car there as well, trying to get on two wheels and pass some of the slower cars which just find themselves in the middle of the track. So I think that's now Alan Caulfield behind the wheel of number 5. But yeah, very close racing out front. These two, as Ian said, yet to do their final pit stop. They've got around about 15 minutes to go, but it's the 777 car we have now seen do its second stop, back on its way, and just shows that Sam Carrington-Yates has definitely been pushing in, hasn't he? Because if those tyres have almost worn away, he's been going very, very quickly indeed as we now come side by side for the race lead.
Yeah, so Mark Burton up on the inside of Simon Walker-Hansel as they go through Woodcote Corner, but Walker-Hansel trying to fight back then as they head down the National Pit Straight. It's going to be the red and black car on the inside line for Copse Corner, the grey and green car on the outside line, number 34, Simon Walker-Hansel. Both of these drivers have raced low costs in the past, and it's Walker-Hansel that's sweeping back ahead, I think, around the outside at Copse Corner. There's back markers ahead of them as well. Mark Burton trying to keep his foot in as they head towards the left-hander at Maggots. Are they still going to be side? Yes, they are, down towards Maggots and Beckett's. Walker-Hansel on the outside line, Burton on the inside line, takes quite a bit of curb there on the inside, runs wide on the exit. They're just coming up to lap back mark as well. So this is the battle for the lead of the race. Mark Burton, 26, 34, Simon Walker-Hansel started out his car racing career in T-cars all of those years ago, of course. But now he's in the 116 trophy, taking the fight to race leader, number 26, Mark Burton here. They turn their way through the left hand at Brooklands. Mark, of course, from Camberley, down there in Surrey, whereas Simon Walker-Hansel is from Middlesbrough, all the way end of the country, and is not quite as close to Mark Burton as he was on the previous lap. There's only a 10th between them as they went across the line last time. It's getting up towards a second as they go through to complete lap 46, Matt.
Yeah, much safer gap this time round for Mark Burton to deal with. So as they cross the line, lap number 46 has been completed, and a gap just over 0.6 of a second between these two as they head now very wide through Copse Corner, at least there for Simon Walker-Hansel. But again, we'll let the official decide what happens with that one. But he's pushing on hard definitely at the minute, trying to close this gap down as best as he can. And again, the squeal of the tyres as they're being worked very hard through the right-hander of Beckett's. Again, a little bit more track being used there as they head on to the Wellington Straight. But this is your top two with just 14 seconds adrift of them. The number 5 car of Anthony Seddon and Alan Caulfield. And Lewis Tyndall still doing well on his own, of course, and he could be on for a top 5 finish, but I still think he's got one more stop to make within this race as well.
Yeah, so it's all going to come down to the remaining pit stops. Just trying to see where Sam Carrington-Yates, or Mark Sullivan as it now will be, has come back out. So he's come back out, I think, in 8th position after all of that. But we'll try and work out how far behind he is behind Mark Burton and Simon Ward-Cancel, because that's what's going to be important in the destination of the race. The other thing we know, of course, is that Mark Sullivan is not such a quick driver as is Sam Carrington-Yates, I don't think. So the question is how much slower, and relative to Mark Burton and Simon Ward-Cancel, what kind of lap times can he do? So about 27, 28 minutes of the race left to go into the final third. Pit lane window only open for another 12 minutes or so. There is the 777 car of Mark Sullivan, so that's just about to come through and cross the line again. So having a look at that, he's come through a lap and 92 seconds behind Mark Burton. So it's all a little bit confusing because there are still pit stops being taken. So it's still quite hard to just gauge exactly what he needs to make up as this race goes on, in the context of Mark Burton and Simon Ward-Cancel needing to make another stop, and of course Lewis Tyndall as well, who's half a minute behind the leaders.
But if you look at his lap time, Ian, as well, for Mark Sullivan, he's on an 18.2, which is some 3 seconds off what Sam was doing, and about 2 seconds slower than what these two cars are doing at the minute, Mark Burton and Simon Walker-Hansel. So, yeah, 2 seconds a lap. The gap was around about 16 seconds before the pit stop. So within 8 laps, they could be kind of coming out together. I think he's on possibly the same sort of pace as Lewis Tyndall, because that is the car which is just up the road from him, and there is one of the slower cars, I think, number 41, getting in fact past Mark Sullivan. So a good early stint from Sam Carrington-Yates. It's now up to Mark Sullivan to try and bring it to the checker flag within the next 26 minutes.
Car 2 into the pits again. That's Chris Noakes for his second stop. And we also saw the 25 Ben Seabold Max Palmer come in for its second pit stop as well, just a few moments ago. There's the order at the moment. Mark Burton, it is in the lead from Simon Ward-Cancel and Lewis Tyndall, I should say. A couple of cars coming down the pit lane. We've got car 1 and car 19 heading in. So 1 is Jeremy Woodgate and James Reddish, and 19 is the Richard Wadlow-Smith and David Pickup car, both of those making their second stops.
Yeah, Mark Sullivan struggling there to keep ahead of number 41. Every time he gets past, I think the number 41 car fights back once more, but he'll try for another time down off the Wellington Straight. As on screen there is the number 71 car of now Chris Godden, because we heard from Jack in the pit lane. Very ambitious to say he's the quicker of the two. Well, you can say that, can't you? Because he's down there in the pit lane, Dad's in the car, so he won't hear what you are saying about him. But doing a good job is Chris at the minute in that number 71 car. As we can see there on screen, number 25 is in the pit lane as well.
Yep, so that's in for its second stop, as I mentioned. Going by the official clock, which is slightly different to the minutes to go we've got ticking away on our screen actually. We're 1 hour 6 minutes 37 seconds in, so there's only another 8 1/4 minutes or so of the pit window being open. So Mark Burton and Simon Ward-Cancel will need to make their second pit stops within the next 7 laps or so now, in order to make sure they don't incur a penalty for a late pit stop. Something to be mindful of there as the 44 car comes into the pits. Richard Phillips with his second stop now. Let's look and see the car that's started by Guy Povey now in the hands of Alex Povey. That's running in 7th position, having made both of its stops. Simon Ward-Cancel has got ahead of Mark Burton now. So Simon Ward-Cancel has taken the lead of the race by 0.4 of a second. He's just got through at the end of lap number 50. That will update on your screen momentarily, I'm sure. And there we go. And so that's a change. Both of those drivers having to make another stop though. Car coming slowly down the pit lane. The car spinning as well at Brooklands is the 417, which is David Scotting now at this stage of the race. He takes to the grass as he tries to recover. Car coming slowly down the pit lane is the much troubled Ian Carvel, 58.
just saw briefly ahead of this car that spun, the number 93 machine, and that's going to be one to watch out for actually in the fight for possibly the win or at least a podium spot, because the Povies were quick earlier on. Currently they're about 10 seconds back from Mark Sullivan, who in the hands of Sam Carrington-Yates was of course the early race leader and could still well be once the pit stops have come through. But yeah, the Povies number 93 is one to watch out for. That times were a little bit slower, but they had some traffic to deal with, so watch out for the Povies. Keep an eye on Mark Sullivan as well, which is, as I said, about 11 seconds up the road. And of course we're still waiting for the 2 front runners, in fact the 4 front runners, to make their second and final stop, which, as I mentioned, will not be too far away, because we've only got now around about 5.5 minutes before the pit window closes.
Yeah, we certainly have. That's car 43 heading in, which is the Edoardo Frediani and David Weinberg car, and that's getting some support on the YouTube comments, I can see. Looks like a driver change is being affected there, so whether that's Edoardo getting in or David getting back in, if you're a supporter of them, you'll probably be able to recognise the drivers. Sadly, we can't manage to do that. 22 minutes of the race left to go, so roughly 3/4 of the way through it now. Glorious afternoon here at Silverstone. Bit chilly, still fairly breezy as well. Stiff wind blowing up the Wellington Straight. Pick that up on the effects mic there on the camera as well, as the cars head up the straight, turn into Brooklands Corner. That's the 232 car going through, which is the Dock Rules. They're running in 15th position. It'll be Christopher Dockrell in the car at this stage of the race. And the 71 car just behind them. Do I want to say 71? Yes, I do. That is the Goddens, isn't it? Of course, they need to make their second stop as well. Christopher in the car at the moment. As Jack was saying, it's their first race, so they're having a very good experience. Up in 4th position at the moment, but they do need to make that extra stop.
Yep, so through they go once again. Across the line now comes the 777 machine, just in the middle of that pack there. So through goes Mark Sullivan, and how far back now is the number 93 car of the Povies? That's what we were trying to keep an eye on, and in fact I think they're just about to be passed by number 26, which is Mark Burton, who has, I think, made his second pit stop, hasn't he? So this is a fight for what could effectively be the lead of the race.
Yeah, Mark Burton having snuck into the pits in stealth mode, because that's twice he's done that now. I've not seen him make it in. But yeah, this could be an all-important battle then for the lead. Now, Mark Sullivan's now lapping in the 117s, the low 117s, but we know that Mark Burton can go a bit quicker than that, so that also bodes well, of course, for Simon Walker-Hansel as well, because they were very close together on track, so all of the things being equal, they should come out of their pit stops at a similar kind of time, and so that bodes well for Mark Burton and Simon Walker-Hansel possibly being able to battle all the way to the checkered flag. The other ones that still need to make their second stop, Lewis Tyndall and Christopher Godden in 2nd and 3rd place. There, though, is that 777 car. As down the pit lane comes car 75 out of my window, which is Lewis Tyndall. So one of those 2 drivers that we said needs to make their second stop is making his second stop.
Yep, you ushered him in there, Ian, so he listened to what you said. So Lewis Tyndall in for his final pit stop, and again, this could be a good result for Lewis. Depends how quickly they can do this stop. Of course, it's all done to 90 seconds, but it's got to be efficient 90 seconds as he talks to the team, just to talk over what's going on. And of course, with a solo driver, he can just sit and relax in the car for a little while. So no real problems there for Lewis. Gives a quick wave to the camera, and before too much longer, he should be on his way once again. But we'll see where that car does, in fact, rejoin. And I think the only one now we're really waiting for amongst the front runners to come in is going to be number 34, which is Simon Walker-Hansel. And he needs to be fairly quick now, because I think we're about 3 minutes away from that pit window closing, as Mark Burton continues to get some good laps in as he works his way past the traffic.
The other one that needs to come in as well, of course, is Christopher Godden, and Reese Bithry on the YouTube comments reckons that it might be Jack getting back in the car for a final stint, as there's a couple of spinners I can see up at Brooklands. The camera swings round to pick those up. There is one still there, honestly, and that is the number 19 car that we've had see him make its 2 stops. So car 19, the Roger Wadlow-Smith and David Pickup car, is stationary at the moment on the apron of the circuit at Brooklands, but looks like it's about to rejoin the track.
Yep, so back on his way goes number 19, David Pickup, and Richard Wadlow-Smith are the 2 drivers within that car. But it's Simon Walker-Hansel who we're waiting for to come in for a pit stop. Keep an eye out to see what's happening further back as well. But this is also the one we're waiting for, as Ian just mentioned, for number 71, just in the background there, the yellow, orange and red stripe through the black car, and that is Chris Godden. Just step into one side, and we reckon from the comments that Jack could be getting back in before too much longer. But for now, the 232 car goes through, and with just around about 17 minutes left in this race, the 90 minutes has elapsed quite quickly, but still got plenty of good racing to come. Yeah,
absolutely right. There is the 71 car coming into the pit lane, so that is Christopher Godden. Now, is it going to be Chris staying out there or Jack getting in the car? To be fair, not a lot of difference between their lap times from what I can see. Best lap of the race, 1:16.72, and from Jack, and Christopher has got in. Simon Walker-Hansel's made his pit stop as well now, I can see. So the driver that was leading the race has been in and gone back out again. So momentarily the Goddens are at the top of the timing screen. Jack is getting back in for the final stint of the race. But someone take a photo of that timing screen, because the Jack and Christopher Godden car is leading the race at the moment.
That's right, their first race as well. That would be something to take home and remember. So let's see how they can get back onto the track, and if they can make up any further places. Not too sure where they're going to rejoin, possibly just inside the top 10, I reckon, but we'll see where Lewis Tyndall rejoins. He's come back out in 7th, so after his pit stop, that's not too bad at all for Lewis. He's got a little bit of ground to make up on the Anthony Seddon and Alan Caulfield car. And yeah, it's getting very close now, isn't it? Because with Simon Walker-Hansel and Mark Burton not separated by much, and of course Mark Sullivan in the 777 machine, one to watch out for, and also the Povies trying to close that gap down, we're going to have some real fierce fighting towards the end of this one. And I think there's going to be a good shuffle of the podium before we see the checker flag. But for now, the Gremlins, by the looks of it, of that number 99 car may have gone, fingers crossed, touch wood, and all of that, because it's back onto the track once again.
Yeah, absolutely right. So we could be in for a grandstand finish here. Just the Goddens won't be in contention. They're dropping down the time screen now. So it's Simon Walker-Hansel leading by 0.3 of a second from Mark Burton. And Mark Burton on that last lap was 0.4 of a second faster. So we'll see if we can pick out the leaders on the live stream for you in a moment, because they are nose to toe at the moment. It's then Mark Sullivan third. He's 6 seconds behind the 2 leaders. And then 4th is Alex Povey, I should say, in the number 93 car. So the top 4 covered by only 10.5 seconds after an hour and a quarter of racing. Fantastic stuff.
Really, really good indeed. So let's see how this plays out then. I think the Povies are also one to watch for, because last time round they were pretty much a second quicker than Mark Sullivan. So 777 could be under attack here before too much longer. And then behind the top 4, you've got the Seddon and Caulfield number 5 machine, which is also on par with the Povey. So they could potentially get themselves higher up the order. And then we'll see what pace Lewis Tyndall has got. He's also quicker than those 3 cars ahead. So here's another one to watch out for in car number 75. So really, really good stuff here in this 116 trophy race.
As it's side by side for the lead as they come down towards Copse Corner. It's Simon Walker-Hansel on the inside, but he's got a 5-second penalty now as well, Simon Walker-Hansel, for exceeding track limits, just as we thought. We've got enough drama on our hands, a little bit more, because Simon Walker-Hansel now really needs to pull away to the tune of 5 seconds in the remaining 13 minutes of this race if he's going to get the win, because if Mark Burton can stay with him, then he will get the win. Because Simon Walker-Hansel picking up a penalty, 5-second penalty for track limits, and he's got to be careful now not to do it again, otherwise it'll be another 10.
And what were your words, Ian, at the beginning of the race? It's a longer race. There's more potential for you to get more penalties for running wide. So Simon Walker-Hansel runs a little bit wide, or takes a different line, which allows Mark Burton back through. So he now leads the race, which is not good news for Simon Walker-Hansel with his 5-second penalty. He needs to be ahead and pulling away, as Ian said. So let's see what Simon can do. Maybe the traffic might be able to help him to get back through and start to pull that gap out. But for now, Mark Burton is the man who goes back ahead then as he comes through to complete lap number 57 in this 90-minute race. It's the red and black car of Mark Burton that heads Simon Walker-Hansel. And then for third place, very shortly across the line, should be the number 777 car in the hands of Mark Sullivan, which will come up to the line now. But right on his tail, we can see out in the commentary box, the Povies are about to make a move for third place. There's traffic to deal with as well. So there's lots going on for third. There's lots going on for the race lead. As we said, this is going to hot up right towards the end.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a much slower lap that time from Mark Sullivan. It was a slower lap too from Alex Povey. So whether they fell over each other or some traffic, not quite sure. There are the leaders heading into or out of Beckett's along the Wellington Straight. And about 15 seconds behind them now is the battle for third. So we might just see that appear into the view in the background in a moment. Yep, they're in that group of cars there, just as we see the leader, Mark Burton, turn into Brooklands. He's pulling away now from Simon Walker-Hansel, of course, also has that 5-second penalty. So Walker-Hansel really needs to get a wriggle on now, get back ahead of Mark Burton and pull away. It looks like it is between these two for the win now, with Sullivan and Povey all of a sudden really quite a long way behind.
Yeah, they are. I think they're dealing with traffic as well, but I can confirm that it looks like the Povies have gone through. So they're now up into third place as they come through the final couple of corners of Luffield and Woodcote as the leaders of the race now through the traffic once again, heading towards the first corner at Cop. So still Mark Burton ahead of Simon Walker-Hansel, and yeah, they go past us here for third and fourth place. I'm just wondering if Mark Sullivan now might come under attack from the Seddon and Caulfield car, because the number 5 machine, although saying that last time through, was about 3 seconds slower than 777, so at that rate they're not going to catch.
They're certainly not. Well, there's Burton and also Walker-Hansel, and Burton not being shy about using all of the circuit, certainly. I wonder if he knows that Simon Walker-Hansel has got that 5-second penalty. There's a board also being shown. I think that is the board for Simon Walker-Hansel being shown from the pit wall, and he goes through Simon Walker-Hansel because Mark Burton goes too wide at Brooklands corner that time. Just got his braking points a little bit wrong, maybe ran out wide, and that's allowed Simon Walker-Hansel to go back through. Now this might not matter because, as we say, Walker-Hansel, number 34, needs to pull out a 5-second advantage if he's to win this race, because he's got a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits. He's going across the line now. There are 9.5 minutes of the race left to go. It's probably going to be 8 laps, I would think, and he'd need to pull out sort of more than half a second a lap, therefore, to go on to win this race, with Mark Burton at the moment still clinging on to the hatchback of that 116. Further back, Alex Povey now pulling away from Mark Sullivan in third place.
Yep, certainly is. So we'll continue to see how the positions change further back as well for third and fourth. But it is his battle out front as Simon Walker-Hansel runs wide there. He's got to be careful, hasn't he? Because I think you spoke yesterday in the F1000 race about Matthew Booth doing that. And if you do that too many more times, you then could receive an extra 10 seconds on top of the 5. So that would not be good news for Simon Walker-Hansel. There's a healthy amount of traffic as well up the road, which is potentially going to play into the hands of Simon, but he needs to stay ahead, which he's not really doing, because Mark Burton fights back once again down towards Brooklands. He's on the outside line in towards Luffield. They're going to run side by side. Just wonder if Simon will use the elbows here to put Mark into the gravel. Nope, plays it very well indeed. They give each other enough room. This is great racing between these two cars. They've been like this for the majority of the race. Not always for the race lead, but for now, in these crucial stages of this race, it is potentially for a first victory of the year. And who's going to be the leader in towards Cops? I'd say it's the 34 car, which it is, of Simon Walker-Hansel still.
Yeah, absolutely. Time running out. Less than 8 minutes to go now in the race. It says 9 and a bit minutes on the clock, but I can see the official time on my timing screen here as well. And over the line as they went that time, it was just 6/100ths of a second between them, but it's Walker-Hansel that's got out in front. And again, both of them that time, fairly clearly to me, well over the white line. We'll leave it at that. Lights being flashed by Simon Walker-Hansel to his own blue flagging effectively, and let the slower cars know that he's coming through. The 11 car is the next one that he needs to lap. That's Richard Lakey, but he is keen now to waste no more time. And it is 15 seconds now for Simon Walker-Hansel. 15-second penalty for someone will cancel. And I have to say, Matt, that comes as no surprise to me at all.
No, he was running wide, wasn't he, on many occasions through that corner, so if the job wasn't hard enough, it's got even harder now for Simon, so potentially he could be on the fringes of losing second place as well, because just as I say that, look towards the screen, and Mark Burton now receives a 5-second penalty as well, so this is nicely playing into the hands of the Povies, because if they can get a wriggle on, and with this traffic playing a part as well, the Povies could potentially be close enough to take the win, not on the track, but on the timing screen at the end.
Yeah, it's going to take some working out this one. I'm glad I've got a maths degree, because it's going to get complicated towards the end. I have to say, not too surprised that Mark Burton's got a penalty either. So now we're in a situation whereby Warcancel needs to get 10 seconds ahead of Burton, and he's pulling away at the moment, but also Burton's got to be 5 seconds clear of the Povies at the end. Last time through there was about 15 seconds between them, and the Povies were only a fraction of a second faster. Unless he picks up another penalty, Burton should be good for the win here, I would suggest. But it is getting a little bit on the confusing side. The Goddens, by the way, Jack Godden now back with Everton in 9th place, and Jack's actually just done the best lap of the race. I don't think he's going to make up any more positions though, because he's 27 seconds behind the car in front, number 77. But nevertheless, a good first race for them, as the number 11 car has spun at Luffield, and that is the Richard Lakey car, and he was in 17th position.
Yep, so he will recover hopefully before too much longer. Just waiting for a gap in the traffic, very close to the edge of the circuit there, so everyone's got to be careful not to run wide as they head their way through Brooklands, but for now there's yellow flags at that part of the circuit. There's the number 93 car, so that's the Povies, which run in 3rd place, 15.37 seconds back, so as it stands they would still be in 3rd place because Simon Walker-Hansel is that far up the road, but with a 15-second penalty, so it's still very close. The Povies need to get a move on now if they want to find themselves any higher up, and their last lap time wasn't too bad. It was quicker than the top two, but not quick enough, if you get my drift, to be able to close that gap with just a few minutes now remaining, because I think we're into the last 5 minutes of this race.
Yeah, we are indeed, so all still to play for. Burton in 2nd place on the road, needing to tread carefully. If he does so, then he should win this race, if not on the road, certainly on the published results. After he's only picked up a 5-second penalty compared to the 15 of Simon Walker-Hansel. It doesn't look like the Povies are going to make enough inroads here, with only 4 and a bit minutes of the race left to go. There is the 93 car of Povey, Alex Povey, running in 3rd place on the road then. The question is going to be whether they finish 1st or 2nd. As things stand, it's going to be, it'll be 2nd they finish, won't it? Because Burton will win. They'll finish 3rd. Walker-Hansel will get 15 seconds added to time, and they're just a little bit over 15 seconds behind him. But they could pick up 1 podium spot if they can just make up a few tenths of a second in the remaining part of this race. Traffic could easily do that one way or another.
Yeah, they're being harassed at the minute, or pushed along could be another word, by the number 77 machine, because Harry Ormerod, Tim Crichton and Peter Ormerod are right there and really getting the Povies to get a wriggle on now, so let's see if they can close that a few tenths of a second down to be in with a chance of finishing higher than 3rd. Just in the background you can see as well the 777 machine is nearly going to be passed there by the number 5 car of Anthony Seddon and Alan Caulfield. Last time through they were separated by 1.5 seconds, so watch out for those 2 cars, which will be coming in towards Brooklands and through Luffield any second, just behind these 2 cars, and we may just catch a glimpse of them behind the number 25 machine, and there they are. So that's 777, that's number 5, and this is the fight for 4th place in this race. So Mark has done a grand job of carrying on what Sam did earlier on, but of course we know he didn't quite have the pace of Sam Carrington-Yates, but to be inside the top 5 he's done a tremendous job. But can he hold off the number 5 car in the remaining minutes of this one?
It's going to be a tall order, isn't it? Because the gap between them was less than half a second, about 4 tenths of a second as they went across the line. The countdown clock on the screen now is correct, so it agrees with what we have on the official timing screen, so no confusion there. They are side by side briefly through maggots, but Caulfield pulls in behind Sullivan, but at Beckett's goes through to take 4th position. So that has changed around. Caulfield goes through to 4th. Sullivan down to 5th, but he should be safe there because Lewis Tyndall's another 14 seconds behind him, something like that.
So yeah, down towards the left-hander of Brooklands they come. So number 5 is now through. On the charge he'll go to try and catch up with the others, but 7 seconds adrift of the Povies. I don't think that number 5 car is going to be able to get any higher within this race as they come through to complete their what's going to be 65th lap in this 90-minute encounter. And just looking up the road, still keeping an eye on what the Povies are doing. They need to be, as I said, within 15 seconds of Simon Walker-Hansel. They've now lost a little bit more time, so they're 16.5 seconds back. So as it stands, with the penalties, it would be Mark Burton for the win and Simon Walker-Hansel for second. But last time through, Mark Burton did his best lap of the race with just a couple to go, a 1:15.5. So he's not backing off, is he? But Mark Burton knows what Simon's got. He wants to try and win on the road, and that's what he's going to try and do down towards the left-hander at Brooklands. He'll try to dive to the inside line, but again, he doesn't need to try anything too silly here. He knows that the penalty is to Simon, and he just needs to sit there in the wheel tracks for the next lap or so.
Well, does he know? That is the question. Does he know that there's a penalty? We've obviously had the board shown from the start and finish line, or from the finish line, but it may be that he's not picked up on that. I'm not sure what team he's got with him to make him aware. They're going to come across the start and finish line to start their last lap then. The two of them are side by side. Mark Burton on the inside line, Simon Walker-Hansel on the outside. Who is going to sweep into Copse Corner first? They're still absolutely together as they have been for so much of this race. And, well, difficult to call. What do you reckon as they head down towards Maggots, Matt?
Yeah, I think he's going to go for it, isn't he? Mark Burton, whether he knows or not, he's going to try and win on the road overall. He's on the inside line down towards the right-hander at Beckett. It's a little bit squiggly there from number 34, which is Simon Walker-Hansel. He also wants to win on the road as well, but this is fantastic stuff. Bear in mind, we've been racing for 90 minutes. We've had 2 pit stops. We've got through this safety car free, and they're going to be separated by the looks of things by less than a second, possibly half a second, as they make their way down towards the left-hander at Brooklands for the final time, with Mark Burton ahead at this point.
Yeah, and is he going to stay that way? Simon Walker-Hansel pushing on, uses quite a bit of curb there at the apex of Brooklands now, almost taps the back of Mark Burton's car as they look up the inside. As he looks up the inside going through Luffield Corner, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. As I say, it's academic anyway because he's got this penalty, but it's going to be Mark Burton then, first time out in the GAZ Shocks 116 trophy, coming up to the line to take the checkered flag and win the first round of 2021. It's going to be Simon Walker-Hansel in second place, assuming Alex Povey doesn't come across the line too quickly from his point of view. Alex Povey just making his way out of Woodcote Corner now, up and over the line he goes. Wait for the time screen to tick over, and he is more than 15 seconds adrift, so Simon Walker-Hansel will get second place.
Thank you very much, Ian. Yes, a very thrilling 90 minutes, and I'm sure someone who can tell us a lot about it, Mark Burton, what a result that is to come first in that one.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I didn't know what to expect coming here. You know, it's a new car. It's a lockdown project, built it over the winter, and thought, you know, I'll try something different. I'm used to doing 15-minute low-cost races with 750, so 90 minutes seemed like a challenge, but I was up for it. I didn't know where the car would be. You know, genuinely, I was hoping top 10, finish the race. You know, and then it sort of started progressing through the race, and I was getting closer with Simon every time. Every time we came out the pits, we were together, and I was thinking, it's game on. You know, this is good. You get a whiff of it, and that's it. You're after it.
Well, something that became a question for the commentary team and myself as well was, were you aware that Simon Walker-Hansel actually had a 15-second time penalty at the end of that race?
Yes, I was. Yes, I wanted to win across the line, so I was going for it.
We were all saying to ourselves, there's no way he knows. He wouldn't be that silly to try and dive down the inside, but
yeah.
you were.
Yeah, I knew it. I've got a radio kit thanks to Race Car Radios and 40/40 Racing. It was really good. It was really useful. I couldn't have really done that race without that radio. And yeah, I knew, and I had a penalty as well. I think it was all track limits. I saw Simon pushing the limits quite a lot, so I was happy to keep pushing him to make him do that. But I wanted to cross the line, so I went for it.
That's fair enough, and you did it yourself. Well, what a fantastic result. A first win for 2021 for the 116 class, but yeah, great result.
Yeah, thanks very much. That's fantastic. Thank you.